Hey guys, we got another Mad Dad exclusive. This time we're doing another roster review on my boy Hawk from Castle Runners. Anyway, so Hawk reached out to me. He had some questions about how he can be doing a little bit better in Arena. Maybe we can start working on his Fleet Arena, get more Zeta mats, what characters he should be working on in the short term, the long term, mods and things like that. So this is going to be a pretty in-depth guide, and hope you find it useful, Hawk. So let's get right into it. Okay, so Hawk has kind of been with the game pretty much since its inception. He's been killing it. He's a great job. He's a great officer. He is definitely really far along in the game. I don't know if he's a dolphin, if he's a whale, or if he's free to play. But whatever he is killing it. And he's one of our best damage in the raids, in territory battles. So let's see what's the short-term goals. Let's attack those first. All right, so starting out, Hawk's biggest thing that he could do is get higher in the arena. How is he going to do that? He needs to get CLS. CLS on an older shard is a complete necessity. He has, as you're going to see in the video that's above me here, they're, they're somewhere. Anyway, no, like that. Hey, there we go. um, anyway, so playing up there, you're seeing that he has all of the Leia, the Stormtrooper Han, the and I have a cat in my that's a thing. Anyway, the Leia, the Stormtrooper Han, the Farm Boy Luke, Old Ben, all up to 7 stars. So great, awesome. Like there is nothing else you need except for one thing. R2D2. Your R2D2 unfortunately is not up to 7 stars, and we have an R2D2 event coming at the end of this month in October here. So your short-term goal should be to focus on getting a 7-star R2D2. The reason why you need a 7-star R2D2 is for the CLS event. The way that you get that is by having an awesome Empire team. Tier 7 of the R2D2 event is no joke. So yeah, what are we going to do? We need to check your Empire. So how's your Empire looking? Let's get into that. Okay, so moving on into your Empire. Your Empire looks super, super strong. We're seeing in the video that's playing above, your Palpatine, your Darth Vader, they're both juggernauts. You got your Vader up to gear 12, so epic. What then you have is, and you have them 7 stars, of course. So with those two, it will carry you a good distance in the tier 7 R2 event. You may not need to heavily gear your other Empire tunes, but it's probably a good idea to make some investments between now and then toward gear on them and abilities. Not all your gear is there, and all of your abilities are kind of like floating at like mismatched numbers. We'll see that above. So in short, what you need to do is you need to 7-star off your Grand Moff Tarkin. You need to 7-star off your Royal Guard. Those are probably going to be your 2 easiest characters because you already have Palp, you have Vader, and you have Snow Trooper already at 7 stars. So your Cantina energy for the next 2 weeks should be going toward Palpatine, or I'm sorry, your Cantina energy should be going toward um, Grand Moff Tarkin and Royal Guard. Those two, once up to 7 stars, and some abilities, mats may have to be put toward them, and some gear may have to be put toward them. But I cannot stress enough, we may not get this R2 event again before the next time that CLS comes around. That means you have to take advantage of this now, and you have to push for it. So that's the biggest short-term goals, and I think that should be your primary focus, at least for the next 2 weeks. Now that we've kind of addressed the short term, let's start working on long-term goals. All right, so next up, we got the newest, most important thing that you should be concerning yourself with. It's ships. There should have been a concern before, but now there's probably more so of an emphasis on it because now there's crystals involved, and we all know about what we do for crystals. Um, anyway, so moving on, let's talk about your ships. Your ships need to have you need to have at least 8 um, 5-star ships to be doing your ability map challenge. Um, this will yield you in the long run a constant flow of Zetas. I'm not saying it's the best source of Zetas because turning in 2,000 in your shipments is going to be your best source for getting Zetas. However, in lieu of that, the long term should be, hey, I need to get more Zetas. How do I do that? And you're going to do that through ships. And you have the bonus of crystals, so why wouldn't you? Anyway, so the ships you have aren't there yet. That should be your focus after you're getting the R2 on lockdowns. That way you're ready for CLS. So let's take a look at what you have. Up here you're seeing video of Hawk's ships. We're doing this again. Okay, up here you're seeing a video of Hawk's ships, and where they need to be at is at least 5 stars. I'm also I'm going to go over that list real quick about what your first 5 lineup should be, your 3 in backup, and then Executrix, obviously. So starting out, obviously, Executrix is going to be your ship that you need to have for your ability mat challenge. So you're already there as far as Executrix goes. Through your R2 event, you're getting your Grand Moff Tarkin up to 7 stars, which will increase the speed of Executrix. That way you can use the ultimate that he has, the TIE Fighter or whatever shit on your team. Okay, shouldn't have said shit. Shit. What we need to do is we need to discuss like the best lineup that you can have with what you have. You don't have the whole scimitar with Darth Maul. You just don't have it yet, and that's okay. That should be maybe a long-term goal. But let's kind of go for like, I guess this should have been a medium goal. So the best thing that you can really have is the lineup that I'm going to suggest here. Starting out, you need to have Biggs X-Wing. He's basically the best ship in all of ship battles. There's just nothing else that even comes remotely close to what Biggs is. The TIE Advance, he does sick damage, he's got sick dodge, and he of course gives target lock, just like Biggs does. They both have target lock. The reason why target lock is obviously so big is because, no pun intended, it is because it gives Biggs protection, it gives Biggs taunt, and he's your tank. So basically you're trying to paint the team. You're not just trying to single a single person out at the start. You're trying to paint their whole team in target lock. So moving on. So you got Biggs, you got TIE Advance, you got the Imperial TIE Fighter. Umbaran Starfighter, that's in case your opponent has a Biggs of their own, which 99% of all teams will carry Biggs in their initial lineup. So you need to be able to cancel his taunt, and how you do that is the best way is through Umbaran Starfighter. And then lastly, Biston's U-Wing. It has an auto target lock on it, and so as such, it's just like TIE Advance in that regard, that it's always going to get you that target lock. So that's what you really... Okay, so lastly, then we need to talk about the 3 ships that you should have in your backup. Your backup should definitely consist of Slave 1. He's the first ship basically you want to put out there. The reason why is because you've painted your whole enemy team with target lock to try and make Biggs last as long as he can, to tank as much damage as he can, to gain as much protection as he can. So as such, usually I find myself having 3 to 5 target locks by the time that they're able to finally down Biggs. When they down Biggs, you bring in your Slave 1. Your Slave 1 is going to use his second ability first thing right off the bat as soon as you bring him in, and he is going to destroy the enemy team with a heavy AoE. So he's just the encapsulation of everything that you want to happen. So then from Slave 1, you're going to have another backup target lock just in case. You may not always bring out your Slave 1 first because maybe something went really wrong or really right and they don't have a team painted full of target lock, which is where your first order TIE pilot comes in. It's good to level him up anyway because you have the BB-8 legendary event. And we can get them out of fleet shipments now. So definitely you want to have first order TIE pilot in your lineup. Lastly, it's going to be a little bit hazy here. So long term, you should be moving towards Scimitar. However, in the short term, my suggestion would probably have to be your Sunfac. I mean, totally like your Sunfac is pretty underdeveloped, but the ship is at least at 4 stars. Sunfac is a great backup in case you need to bring out another tank to finish off the battle. It's good to have a little bit of variety in everything. But probably Sunfac for the time being until you get Scimitar. Like I said, Scimitar is going to be a long-term goal. That's what you're working toward as far as when you're trying to earn crystals. Like you're moving past the ability mats. You're going to want your Scimitar for the longest of long-term situations. Lastly, what you need to consider for ships. Okay, I know it's already long-winded, but we're going to go a little bit deeper here. The Chimera is out. Okay, that's a thing. It's going to be a part of the meta. It's probably going to be the best capital ship you can have. How do you get it? Rebel ships. Let's take a look. Your Rebel ships aren't there yet. So what you need is you need Biggs. We already talked about that earlier. So there we go. Biggs. Wedge. Those are your 2 best Rebel ships. Then you have the Phantom, the Ghost, and then you have Biston's U-Wing and Cassian ship. Those are going to be your Rebel ships. That's what's going to yield you your Chimera. If you get the Chimera, you are going to be a savage in the fleet arena. The fleet arena will, of course, yield you crystals, so it should be a long-term goal, but just saying that should be what it is. Like a long-term goal as far as ships are concerned. So take that for what you will. Alright, so next up is going to be the Heroic AAT. The Heroic AAT is something that we are on the cusp of doing as a guild together, so that way we can start earning General Kenobi. This is going to be pre you having General Kenobi is going to be my suggestions here, because General Kenobi is a juggernaut in the first phase of the Heroic AAT. So for the first phase, my suggestion is obviously CLS and Raid Han. If I'm able, or if you're able to get CLS within a timely fashion of when we're doing Heroic AAT, then that's the ideal candidates. If you can't, then the backup plan is definitely going to have to be Jedi. Jedi in Phase 1 are still king outside of CLS and Raid Han. Good Jedi team for you to be working with would be your Qui-Gon Jinn as lead. You'll have to Zeta him, so that's why I'm not suggesting that you go for that, because if you Zeta him and then you get CLS, you're going to be very upset with yourself. So Qui-Gon Jinn lead, Ezra Bridger. You're going to have Grandmaster Yoda, Old Ben, because again you don't have General Kenobi. And then lastly, R2-D2. With those 5, you're going to be easily like a 2.5 million in Phase 1 as far as damage goes, which is all you can really ask for out of anybody. So, moving on. So next up we have Phase 2 of the Heroic AAT. During phase 2, the best team, hands down, is going to be the Resistance. We're using R2-D2 in phase 1, so we don't have access to him in phase 2, but that's okay. We are just going to replace it with your 7-star Rey that you already have. So then we have Rey, we have Poe, we have Resistance Pilot, we have Resistance Trooper, and we have Finn. Finn's going to be your lead. You have to Zeta him. It doesn't matter. There's just no way around it. He's worth it. You can use him in Galactic War. You can use him in territory battles. Resistance is a great team for offense as far as the squad arena is concerned. Definitely not on defense because the AI has no clue what they're doing. But so yeah. Okay, so next up we need to talk about phase 3 of the AAT. You're going to be using the Chirpa team combo. It's basically the best team for phase 3 of the heroic AAT. In short, this is a team that is just trying to abuse turn meter as much as possible. It's not infinite, but it's really close. The boss can still counterattack, and that's how it's not infinite. But so in short, he won't enrage. But what you're going to do is you're going to run Chief Chirpa as your lead. He's going to give your Palpatine turn meter. Chief Chirpa, that's pretty much all he does aside from, throw out random attacks at the boss. So Chief Chirpa, lead. Emperor Palpatine, he's going to put shock on all the ads, and then he's going to just start windmilling the boss. Like, it's just that simple. You have Royal Guard. He's there to provide a stun. He's there to soak damage should somebody fall below 50%, and you're already working on your Royal Guard for your R2-D2 event that's coming up, so that just all plays really well into that. Then you're going to have Geonosian Soldier, and lastly you're going to have Thrawn. Now you can't use your Thrawn right now because he's not at 7 stars, and for heroic AAT you have to have 7-star tunes on everyone. But long-term, Thrawn's going to be your boy. This is going to be the team that you're going to want to use. There's just nothing that even comes close to what this team can do in phase 3. You should also use Thrawn and other things, and we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. But for right now, we're just talking about phase 3 of the heroic AAT, and that's your team. All right, here we go. We're talking about phase 4 of the heroic AAT, and we are finally done talking about this. Super exciting, I know. Anyway, so what do you have to have for it? Clones. Clones, plain and simple. The clones that you have are super well developed. You're not going to have to put much work into them, so that's a great aspect. Moving on, who do you have to have? You have to have Cody. Cody has to get a Zeta on his leadership. No way around it. Sorry to tell you. Later on, I'll kind of discuss about where your priorities should be for your Zetas. So Cody, then you're going to have Echo. You're going to have 5s. Your 5s is well developed. He's 7 stars, well geared. So you're looking good on 5s. And then you're going to have Clone Sergeant. And then lastly, you're going to have Leia. With all those guys, phase 4 is going to be a cakewalk for you. You're really, really close to it already. And so thankfully, we can start talking about something else besides heroic AAT. Yay! All right, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this next part. Basically, in short, it's in reference to the Rancor raid. We're already crushing heroic Rancor. It's no big deal. You have the Tebow team. I don't need to kind of get into that. As time progresses and you do get your CLS and your Raid Han, like we talked about, you just transition those into the Rancor, and literally you can auto the whole darn thing by yourself. So let's not dwell on that. Okay, next up, everybody's favorite topic of them all, territory battles. It's a bit of a grinding process right now, I'm not going to lie. There's no sugarcoating it. We can definitely, hopefully there will be some changes coming down the road. I know that CG has plans to develop a dark side territory battles. They've already listed that on the forums and started talking about it. I hope that they make some changes to the light side before they implement more. But let's continue with what we need for territory battles. All right, so for successful territory battles, you need to have the following crews. All right, you're going to need your Phoenix Squad. You need them. I would suggest basically Thrawn level Phoenix Squad. That means all their uniques have to be Omega. All their abilities should be at ability 7. I'm not saying you need that for phase 1 Phoenix Squad event, but you will need it for the phase 5 portion of it. So gear 8 should be the minimum that you have on all of your Phoenix Squad. And like I said, all their uniques have to be Omega, and Hera's leadership has to be Omega as well, and all of their skills brought up to 7. Who's a Phoenix Squad? Okay, Hera's your leader. No big surprise. You got Ezra. He's a great Jedi to develop, a great Rebel to develop. You'll use him outside of territory battles. The Phoenix Squad also in general is just really strong at Galactic War, so there's that aspect to it too. So moving on, you have Zeb. Zeb is needed for the Thrawn event specifically. You seem to have put him on a back burner in favor of Sabine. I can't say that I agree with that move. I think that you want to get your Zeb more so developed because Staggering Strike is needed for the Thrawn event because it knocks off one of the Death Troopers' buffs. Okay, so we got those 3. Then we got Chopper. And we got Kanan. There's some people that will tell you that Sabine is better than Chopper in the Thrawn event. I also disagree with that just because Chopper can dispel. Getting those off of the buffs off of the Death Troopers is paramount. So if you're going to develop a character, develop Chopper, develop Zeb. Do not develop Sabine any more than you have to. Which you might want to for Chimera later on, but for right now, no. Next up, we're going to have to talk Rogue One. Rogue One's not my favorite topic of all. Pretty polarizing, actually. We need them for territory battles, so who do we need? We need Jyn Erso. Your Jyn Erso is really well developed. I assume you're using her in the Rancor raid, which is probably helping a lot there. But I wouldn't continue to feed into Jyn. You're good. You have K2SO, and there's a kid's toy, and the cat again. So yeah, things. Anyway, so K2SO, yeah, I would maybe consider developing him a little bit more, but that would just be because of the ship aspect to him. If you want to get the Chimera, if not, I would pretty much abandon it as long as you're able to clear the territory battle. Then you have Cassian, same thing. It's obviously Cassian's U-Wing, so again, develop him if you want Chimera. I wouldn't prioritize it right now, but just maybe further down the line, I would make that a consideration. Last, you have Cheese, aka Sharut and Baze. Both these guys are juggernauts in the, I keep using that term, I should probably call them something else. They're amazing, they're savage, they're sick, whatever, epic. They are great as far as the whole package of arena, for territory battles, for just every aspect of the game. Those two, if you're going to develop anybody from the Rogue One, those are the two you want to primarily focus on. Okay, so lastly, we have to talk about the miscellaneous characters for territory battles. You've already started developing them, and that's great. Don't go ham on them. I'm telling you that right now. It's totally not worth it. Bring them to where the missions that you are required for them to have. But if they're succeeding in those missions and you get away with where they're at, don't continue to develop them any further. It's just a bad idea. So who are they? First, you have Hoth Rebel Soldier. You've done really good there, absolutely, and you should be commended upon it because you're blowing me out of the water with that. Next, you have Hoth Rebel Scout. Also, you've done a great job bringing him up. Continue to develop if you need to, but again, don't go ham. And then lastly, you have, well, second to last, you have Hoth Han. Hoth Han is something that you've put some time and effort into. It doesn't look like you've gone ham. As long as you're able to bring him in and get Rolo shards, don't develop him any further than you absolutely need to. And then there's the very last one, the biggest mamma jamma of them all, Commander Luke Skywalker. Um, Obviously, you don't have him, and we talked about it in great detail, but he would be the last character that you would need to complete the whole Hoth set, if you will. All right, moving on. Finally, we get to talk about something that's fun. Arena. It's subjective, granted, but I'm going to give you what I would run with your characters and develop those last little characters and try and make something that's really special, that should easily get top 200 if not top 1. So that way you're generating more crystals, you generate more crystals, it's more resources, more things that you can do in the game. So let's get into it. All right, so Captain Rex. Captain Rex is one of the 3 best leaders that you can have access to. Obviously, you don't have access to CLS, and General Kenobi is still out of reach at this time. So, best thing, Captain Rex. His leadership will allow it to where whenever one of your guys gets critically hit, the whole team's gaining turn meter. So that's pretty much his only use, aside from the fact that he can cleanse as well. That's, yeah. So after Captain Rex, you need to have a tank. Somebody that can sit there and just take crits and take hits and get them off of your team. That's going to be your old Ben. Again, you don't have General Kenobi, so as such, the best tank that you personally have access to is your old Ben. Your old Ben's pretty well developed. You can continue to dump gear into him to make him better, and I don't see any harm in doing that. So you have your tank. Now you need to help your tank. You're going to do that with a support, R2-D2. Again, we know he's not up to 7 stars. He will be very soon. That's fantastic. So let's go ahead and start bringing him into the arena fold. He uses an ability called Smokescreen, which basically gives a false taunt to Ben. So you want to make your R2 the fastest person on your team, so that way he puts up Smokescreen. When he does, everybody has to hit old Ben. When old Ben dies, everybody gets buffs. When he gets crit, he's given everybody turn meter. It's just an awesome little combination that you should be implementing. Then you have Thrawn. Thrawn is going to be a key part to this team. I know your Thrawn isn't at 7 stars, but that's okay. He's arena viable at 5 stars. Everybody will tell you that, and you should be using him. Develop him, get his gear up there, get all of his abilities up there. Make sure that your Thrawn is going to be able to give turn meter to who? Your Nihilus. Your Nihilus is very well developed. He is going to be able to hide through R2's smoke screen. He's going to be able to hide behind old Ben's taunt. He's going to get tons of turn meter from Rex. And Thrawn, of course, is going to just give him another turn. All of these things are just building and building and making your Nihilus just to be able to annihilate their team, literally and figuratively. So that's your arena team. If I was to say you want to develop one team and focus on that, that would be the team, and you're going to get high mileage out of this team. Not only is it arena viable today, it has some long term, and then on top of that, it's basically what you would use until you get to the very, very end game involving CLS. So there you go. Last on the chopping block, Zeta Mats. When you earn them, who should you be applying them to? This is pretty easy and pretty straightforward for you. The first one should obviously go to R2-D2. His number crunch, not the cleanse. Once R2D2 is done. The next up should definitely be Finn. It'll make your Phase 2 for Heroic AAT infinitely better. It'll make territory battles infinitely better. Yeah, Finn. And then last, but certainly not least, I would go with Cody. This is basically for Heroic AAT Phase 4. So in conclusion, you're doing great, man. You're going to be killing it in every single way. And if you take these suggestions, I think you're going to improve your arena. I think you're going to improve your fleet arena, and of course your presence in the HAAT. I hope this finds you well. I hope that it wasn't too long. I worked really hard the whole weekend pretty much on this project. So, hey man, see you in game.
My dad is mad.